Alright, so this video is going to be on ways you can predict the market with accuracy. Sort of a part two to the last video about how the market is not random. If you didn't get a chance to go watch that one, go ahead and go to my channel, or I can link it in the video, the link to that video. So this is going to be the kind of the sequel to that one. So how can you read price, read the market, and make an accurate assessment of what's going to happen next? Because that's ultimately how you're going to make money, right? You're making money on the bars or the candles that are yet to print. If you're looking at a 1 hour chart, like we have here on the micro E-mini here, what's going to happen within the next hour? That's going to determine whether you make money or not, if you can predict that with accuracy, right? So it's important to develop this skill to be able to forecast the market. So it's real interesting because what I'm going to share are ways to be objective about looking at the market. However, the only thing that's subjective is your opinion on what you think is going to happen next, because realistically, no one knows what's going to happen next. You have to make your best judgment given the information you have. Now, it doesn't just end there. Another really key important piece to this as well, and how you can actually get an edge, is how you manage the trade. So say you're reading price up until the point where you're going to enter, and you finally get a signal to enter. Now that you're in the market, that doesn't just automatically switch off your ability to read price because now you have money on the line. That's not a reason to just stop considering market behavior. You need to continue analyzing price, because the bars that are yet to come, even after you're in the trade, are they're a pretty good indicator of what is gonna happen next. So if you go long and all of a sudden you're seeing bull bars that are not really closing very strong, you see bear bars that are closing on their lows, what do you think is going to happen next? More often than not, price is going to run to your stop loss. So why wait for it to run to your stop loss when the evidence is already there? So I'm going to open up this Word document here that I have prepared. And these are some questions that I'm always considering at any given time. It doesn't matter what time frame you're looking at. It doesn't matter what time of day you're looking at. I know there are some strategies that only trade during New York session, and you got to sweep this Asia set. It's all nonsense, okay? None of those things matter. I can tell you that right now. We are trying to make a accurate prediction of what's going to happen next. So, what does time of the day have to do with any of that? It doesn't really have much to do with that. All you have to do is consider what is happening in this moment. And again, that'll help you make a valid assessment. So the first question I ask are, what are the bulls trying to accomplish? Now, price can only go sideways or trend, right? Sideways, up, or down. So if you think about what the bulls are trying to accomplish, they can only really be trying to accomplish two things: trying to put in a swing higher, trying to break out higher above a swing high, or they're trying to hold support. So, what are the bulls trying to accomplish at this given time? Are they trying to push higher, you will see bull candles with closures on their highs, near the high of the candle. That's a strong indicator that the market is trying to break out above resistance. And what's a good indicator of price holding support? You're going to see long-tailed wicks, right? The candles are going to have wicks that come down and then they get bought back up. That's a sign that the buyers are holding support, right? So we'll go into this, we'll go down the list, right? Next question is, are they meeting this objective? So the evidence is either there or it's not there. Again, we're trying to be objective. I made a typo here. This is supposed to say, what are bears trying to accomplish? That's going to be the exact opposite of the bulls, right? They're trying to get lower lows and they're trying to hold resistance. They're trying to prevent the market from going up to the upside. And of course, that looks like big bearish candles that close near the low of the candle. That's a good sign that the market's trying to break out lower. And when you see candles that have big wicks to the upside and come back down and close near the low of the candle, that's a sign that the bears are holding resistance. They're preventing price from breaking out higher. Again, are they meeting this objective? That's the next question for the bears. After you make that assessment, now the question is very simple. Who is in control? And so you're looking at both sides and you're saying, well, the bulls are holding support and they're getting closes on near their highs. They're trying to break out. Well, it would be clear at that moment that the bulls are in control, right? So the answer to that should be real simple. It's a simple question, and you just need a simple answer. Now, this next question is the moneymaker, and it's the most subjective part because the rest of these things can be measured. You look at the price, you look at the chart, and that's information, right? But the last question is sort of where our skill of how to read the price comes in. And the question is, if my read is correct, what is likely to happen next? It's sort of subjective, right? But this is where we make the money. This question right here, doesn't matter what your strategy is, doesn't matter what time of day, I've already gone over that. If my read is correct, what is likely to happen next? If you cannot answer these questions, then you are not in tune with the market. You are not, you're not able to read what's going on, right? This is going to be the moneymaker. If my read is correct, what is likely to happen next? So what I'm going to do, pulling up a chart here, and again, time frame doesn't matter. We're looking at the micro E-mini. This is the 1 hour chart. And what I'm going to do is, look, I'm going to switch to 5 minute, and I'm going to bar replay somewhere in the past recent history. Let's see. And I have this is going to be completely random. I'm just going to pick some random day. Okay, here we are. And then I'm going to go to the 1 hour because I didn't want to have any sort of information of what the 1 hour is going to look like before this. So we'll go to the 1 hour now. And let's have a look. So we have price here. That was in a trading range, right? Very clear. Price is sideways. There's no trend. Right, we got the price tried to break out here on this candle here, this bull bar. But as you can see, wasn't a good breakout. It was a failed breakout. It tried, came back down, and wicked back in. Now, what is this telling you? This is telling you that the bears were able to hold the resistance, right? But you also can't ignore these bull bars, right? Think about what the bulls, or sorry, think about what the bears are trying to accomplish in this small range right here. The bears are trying to get a breakout lower below this low. That's their objective, right? So we go down the checklist. What are bears trying to accomplish in this range right here? They're trying to get a break below this swing low. All right. The next question, what is that? Are they meeting this objective? Well, if you look closely, they tried it on this candle, but it quickly got bought right back up. So the answer to that would be no, they're not meeting this objective. They're not being able to break below this swing low. They were able to hold the resistance here, and that's true. And that's actually a good strong bar. But once you see this bar, now you realize that while the bears were able to hold resistance, they're not able to break through support. Now the question is, for the bulls, what is their objective? They're trying to hold the support, and they were successfully able to do that. What's their objective? Hold support. Are they meeting this objective? In this case, yes. From here, now what are they trying to do? They're trying to break out above resistance here. Do they do that here? They do. They break out of this resistance here. Now that's a sign. That's telling you something. Okay, the market finally broke out of this small range here. Now, did it break out of the bigger picture, the bigger context? Not on this candle, but the evidence is here that they're more in control than the bears, because the bears tried it, but they didn't get a breakout below this low. The bulls tried it. They tried to go for the major area of interest, and they failed that one. The bears came back in. Now, what's interesting here is that when the bears responded and they were able to hold this resistance, look at the next bar. Okay, decent bear bar, but is this candle closing near its low? Like, is it a big, convincing candle that, okay, the bears are really in control? I mean, it's a reasonable bear candle, but it's not very convincing, and especially the next candles look sort of the same. These candles do not close below their low. So what is that telling you? Within these 2 hours, the bears tried to get lower. They were able to hold resistance, and now what's their next objective? Their next objective would be to try to get a breakout lower. They're trying to bring price lower to maybe try to get a breakout down here. They couldn't even get down back to these lows. Every time they tried, the bulls responded. The next hour, they tried again, the bulls responded. That's telling you something. That's telling you that these guys, the bulls, have a little bit more control. The very next candle, big strong bull candle here. So up to this point, you can pretty reasonably assume that price is not just going to start rallying back down here. Why? Because it tried already. It tried once. It tried twice. And then you get this big bull candle. What do you think is going to happen next? You can almost, I don't want to say with certainty, but we're just trying to find likelihood, right? Because what is the question? If my read is correct, what is likely to happen? I didn't say what is going to happen. Now, is it likely that we, break above this candle, fail, and start rallying lower? It's unlikely, because we've already tried that. And then once the evidence that the bulls, like this confirms that the bulls are really in control here, what do you think is going to happen next? And again, if you're looking at this 1 hour and you see this, I'm looking for another test of the resistance. That would, in my opinion, that's what I would be thinking. What is likely to happen next? Well, the bulls are going to try and test this high again. They're going to try and get a push up to this high because, again, the bears failed to get a push lower. So at this point, you can scale to a 5-minute chart and start minimizing your risk and trying to get a move to the upside. If you're trading the 5-minute chart within this context, this is a very decent move. Let's just say you bought the open and you sold the close of this candle. That's 20 points, like 23 points, 24 points on the E-mini. I don't think anyone would complain with that. And then you have this big bull candle that closes above the high. What is this telling you? This is telling you that the bulls, what was their objective? Their objective was to break out of this high, right? And then the next question, oops, the next question, are they meeting this objective? What are bulls trying to accomplish? They're trying to break up above this resistance. Are they meeting this objective? It's obvious, right? It's not subjective. It's not random. You're not guessing at this point. You see this and you say, it's, the bulls did meet their objective. Are they in control? Yes. What do you think is going to happen next? You can even wait for a pullback right here. Wait for the pullback. You can enter on this candle. Do you have a little bit of drawdown? Yes, but then you get another bull breakout. And so you see this and you say, look at the next candle, right? What are the bears trying to accomplish here? You can argue that, okay, we're above resistance. The bears might give it one more attempt to hold the resistance. Maybe this wasn't convincing enough for the bears. Maybe they try again. Their attempt to bring it lower was very poor on this candle. Next candle, the bulls. They try to get another breakout. They fail. But again, the bears also try to get another breakout lower. They fail. You see a lot of indecision here. You see the bulls try to get a breakout again here. They fail. Uh-oh. I'm lagging here. Hold on. Okay, we're back. Bulls try to get another breakout again here. They fail, but it was a decent attempt, right? It's not a convincing attempt, but it's more convincing than the bears. Again, who is in control here? You can argue that the bulls are more control. Every time the price goes down, it gets popped right back up, and you're getting attempts to go higher. Again, another attempt to go higher, failure to go lower. Finally, you get a push lower, below this low, but it failed. Next candle, it's like a nothing burger. Like the price didn't even try to go lower. Price just kind of traded sideways within the previous bars, the inside bar. Then you see the next candle, big strong bar. The evidence is right here, though. This is the evidence. You're seeing that price is failing to go down. Once you see a big strong bull candle again like this, I mean, your answer, who is in control right here to that question, the answer is the bulls. So then when you see this big candle, you already know who's in control. What do you think is going to happen next? Chances are you get a breakout above this high, right? So now it's clear that we are in a bull trend, right? It's clear we're in a bull trend. We broke up above resistance and we're forming higher highs and higher lows. Now, what's interesting here is you finally have a sign of the bears showing some fight now. Now the bears are getting aggressive. The last big bull candle we have here is right here, and this is the bulls are not just giving up, right? This is very strong evidence that the bulls are in control, and it's quite arguably so. Even after these bars, the bulls may still have control, right? But what's very interesting is what's happening here is that the bears are also not going to give up the swing high very easily, given this price action, right? Even though we are in an uptrend, right? But the evidence is right here, right? So the next candle, we trade above the swing high, and what's very interesting is that we didn't trade very, very much higher above this swing high. We traded above it, and then immediately the bears. So that's telling you that every time the market goes higher, there's still sellers there, right? And this isn't a big bear bar compared to this one, but it closes on its low. The bears didn't even give it an attempt to go higher on this one. The bulls didn't give it an attempt to go higher. The next candle, the bulls sort of tried to make a push, immediately got sold right back down. Evidence that the bears have control of this level. This may end up being resistance, right? Because you're seeing bears being more aggressive, bulls failing to break up above higher. Every attempt to go higher is met with selling pressure. Then you have this big bear candle right here. If I'm seeing this as a buyer, I'm starting to think of exits because, like I mentioned, the bears are not going to give up the swing high that easy. They're going to probably defend it. And so when price gets back down to resistance, now we see bulls starting to ramp up a little bit. Okay, so let's go back to this real quick because now we're gonna do some forward testing here. So let's see. Let's start with the first question. What are bulls trying to accomplish right now? Well, price came down to support, and their mission was to hold the support. Now, did they do that on this candle? It's sort of indecision. And you don't really want to see indecision at support. Another indecision candle. You see price did try to break out lower. What are the bears trying to accomplish in here? What are the bears trying to accomplish? They're trying to get a breakout below support. They tried it right here. They failed. Bulls finally showed up. Right? The bulls, I would say, up to this point, they successfully met their objective. Right? What are bulls trying to accomplish? They're trying to prevent a swing low to form below this support. And I'd say that they succeeded in doing so there. The very next candle, indecision. Not great, because you're seeing bears. You're seeing evidence of bears still trying to get a lower. Again, the bears, their objective is to get a swing lower. They prevented the bulls from trying to get a move up here. Finally, the bulls get one here. This isn't a very big bar compared to this bar, right? This bar it's a decent bar, right? But compared to this one, it's not as convincing. The next bar, same thing. So up to this point, what is likely to happen next? Because we've already answered all these questions. What are bulls trying to accomplish? They are trying to defend the support, and as of right now, they're doing so. What are the bears trying to accomplish? They were trying to get a push below the swing low, and they failed up to this point. Who is in control here? I would say, given these past recent bars, I would say the bulls. So given that context, what is likely to happen next? I think that we get a push higher, but I don't think that we just get a strong breakout higher. I think that we'll get to the swing high. Perhaps we wick above it too. We might wick above it. It's reasonable to consider that we go above it. But I think bears are not going to give it up easily. And so if it, at this current price, would you want to go long here? I guess you could, but again, after you're into the trade, I would be very nimble. I would not be so convinced about the bulls up to this point. So let's see what happens. Let's say we entered here and we wanted to take profit up here. Okay, this candle here, not very convincing. It tried to make a push higher, failed. Not good for bulls. So the bulls, again, their objective is trying to bring it up here. Up to this point, I would say this is a pretty bad attempt. And let's just see what happens now on this candle. At this point, I would have definitely exited that trade. That it's not great. Okay. Now again, remember what I said on this candle. I would be very nimble. If we entered right here, I would be very nimble, right? Because I would not anticipate. I did say it was reasonable for price to come back to resistance, but the reason I said to be nimble is I think price could go a little bit higher, but it will be instantly met with resistance. And in this case, I mean, it didn't go that much higher and was instantly met by resistance. Um, and so I guess the read on that one is 50-50. I don't know if I would have even really took that trade because, again, the Bears showed that they were more aggressive. It's very clear. The evidence was right here. Now, you see these candles, and I can just tell you right now, what do you think is going to happen? The Bears, I would say at this point, are in control, right? At this point, I would say it's very likely that you trade below this low, perhaps even below this low, right? And I mean, this candle is very convincing. It's a big bear candle, gave back the gains of the past three candles in one candle and closed almost near its low. So the Bears, their objective is to trade below these swing lows. And up to this point, I'd say that they're meeting that objective. What are the Bulls trying to do? They were trying to get a push up to resistance. They failed. Now their objective is to defend these swing lows. Would you say at this point that they're doing a good job at doing that? I would say not. So what is likely to happen next? Trade below this low, and we'll see if we go to that low after. Now, okay, well, traded below that low, and now the Bulls did defend the support. So the Bears, again, their objective was to trade below this low, which they did, but the Bulls quickly defended it back. Now, this is very interesting. Are the Bulls meeting this objective? Are they defending the lows? Yes, they did. They immediately defended. So the Bulls are still defending here. The Bulls haven't given up. Up to this point, I'd say that the next move is we trade above these highs, test resistance, given this candle. See what happens. Bears trying again. Traded above that high. Failed. On that candle, this is sort of an indecision candle. The Bulls did trade above the highs. I thought maybe perhaps they could have gone for resistance. In this case, they didn't, and you're met with another sideways candle. And this candle's indecisive. After this candle prints, it's kind of difficult to read because you kind of have both breakout lower failed and you have a breakout higher that failed. So what's likely to happen next? Who's in control right here? It is a bear candle. It's a difficult read, honestly. Maybe it's one that you don't trade. Maybe your read on it, because like I said in the question, if my read is correct, what is likely to happen next? Well, if you can't make a read, it's a little tough to make a decision here. We might need more information. Bears trying to get a push lower below support. They failed. So Bulls are still here. Bulls. So if you look at these candles, look at these wicks. Wick down, bop right back up. Wick down, bot right back up. Wick down, bot right back up. At this point, this is a trading range. It's like it's a triangle, and these triangles are trading ranges. Right. I guess yeah. It's mainly a trading range. It's fine. It doesn't need to be perfect. You have higher lows and lower highs. That's how you know you have a trading range. That's how you know you have a triangle. Now, it's interesting because I think the Bulls are in more control here despite these red candles, these bear candles, because every time the price goes down, it's immediately bought right back up. I would say at this point, the market is going to trade higher and trade up to this trend line. I think that's what's likely to happen next because the Bulls' objective is to hold the lows, and they're doing that. As long as they're successfully doing that, what are the Bears trying to do? They're trying to get a breakout lower, and they're failing. As long as these things are happening, you can reasonably assume that price is going to try to trade up to resistance. So again, my read is what's likely to happen next? trade up to resistance. Let's see. And we did so there. All in one shot, too, all in one candle. So the read was correct. But I was able to make that judgment based on this information, based on answering these questions. What are bulls trying to accomplish? Are they meeting the objective? What are bears trying to accomplish? Are they meeting the objective? Who is in control? If my read is correct, what is likely to happen next? That right there is the moneymaker, right there. If your read is correct and you get this right, and oftentimes you don't need to be correct every time. All you need to do is manage the trade accordingly. And as long as your read is correct, you stay in the trade. If your read is incorrect, you cut your losses and you don't wait to take a full risk loss. If you're risking $100 on the trade, but price is not showing any evidence that it wants to go up or in your favor, you don't have to take $100 loss. You don't have to take the max loss. The evidence is there. The evidence is telling you to jump ship right now. You don't, and if your read is correct, you have no reason to exit. All right. Let's just see what happens here. Let's just see. Let's keep going until this plays out, because this is a good strong bull candle. What is likely to happen next? Well, we got to this trend line. We don't know. We know that the bulls are going to try to get a breakout above the trend line. The question is, are bulls going to successfully defend it? Let's see. We'll be able to make a better judgment after we see what happens. Okay. Up to this point, this is a reasonable bull close. Now the question is, bulls are trying to get a breakout, right? Bears are trying to hold this swing high. Who's meeting the objective? Who's in control? Let's see. Well, this candle here is tricky. It is a breakout above the trend line, and it is a breakout above this trading range. That's decent evidence. That's good. They attempted right here, and they were met with resistance, but it's not. They didn't like the trend didn't necessarily reverse. So the bulls are still they're still in the game. I'd still say the bulls are in control, and my read would be that they try again. They're gonna try again, but I don't think it's going to be a very strong breakout higher. I think it might try to go higher and maybe wick back down. So it's kind of one of those ones that we had earlier right here about trying to be nimble. Because this isn't a very convincing attempt to break out of resistance. The bears are still going to try to hold this resistance. I think we try again. So let's just say we entered right here with that read, and we our target would be try to get to exit here because we're not anticipating a big move higher. The read and the exit would be to try to get this swing high. Let's see what happens. Trying it. Oof. They tried. At this point, I'm not liking this long position because they tried it again. By about, my gosh, 1 point. They 1 point. They missed it. So twice they tried to get that breakout. Maybe perhaps I stay in this trade because the next candle can be the breakout candle. And there isn't really evidence that it wants to go down as of right now. This is just evidence that the bears are holding it. But it's very likely that the bulls try again. And again, our read is that the bulls are in control. And if you exit right here, I mean, it's not that big of a loss, right? It's pretty much a break even. I'm willing to risk a little bit more on the trade, take a little bit more heat on the trade to see if the bears successfully hold the resistance. Let's see. And did they get the swing high? Not yet. There they go. And again, the read was correct, right? What was the read? That we were going to get the swing high, but we weren't going to break out above it. The evidence is in these candles here. The bears are already there before we get the swing high. The bulls, their objective, they're trying to get the swing high. The bears, they're trying to defend the swing high. They were already defending it before the bulls got there. So it was pretty reasonable to believe that once they got the swing high, you're not going to see a massive big breakout. Let's see what happens on the next candle. Bulls trying to get a breakout again. Oof, there it goes. That's a good candle. And that's kind of wasn't really expected, to be honest. That's not a very convincing closure by the bulls. Again, not very convincing. Getting a lot of these wicks at the top of the candles, it means that attempts to go higher are failing. At this point, the bears are successfully holding that high. Now, what are the bears trying to do? They're probably going to try and take this trend lower. They're probably going to try and get this swing low, the support. Who would you think is in control here? Yes, it's an uptrend, so I'm not saying that just because you are answering these questions objectively doesn't mean, oh, it's time to short. No, the market is still an uptrend, and that's true. But it's honestly, it is reasonable to begin looking for shorts up here because the evidence is here that they're up there. I wouldn't short from right here because now we're getting closer to support, and the bulls are going to try and defend their support. The bears are already showing strong evidence that they're willing to defend support. So it would be a reasonable idea to short up here, but maybe not at this current price because we're at support, and the bulls are going to try to defend the support. Let's see what happens. Bulls failing to do what they're supposed to be doing. Here it goes. Now they're holding support. Failure. At this point, I would be looking to short it because moves higher are failing. Bulls are not successfully defending support. The evidence is here, and each time the price moves higher, it's getting rejected. So I would say it's reasonable to start looking for shorts and target the swing low because the bulls are failing to defend that. Weak move up, and do they get the swing low? Not yet. See what happens. And they got the swing low there. Again, the read was correct. Tell me what about this is random. There's nothing random is going on. The evidence is all the information that's coming in is all evidence of what is likely to happen next. I never once shifted time frames, and what this is during Asia session. This isn't even during market hours. This was during New York session, but all this was during Asia. So again, going back to my point, I can do this all day. You know, the key is to answer these questions. If you could answer these questions, the last question is going to be the moneymaker. And that's what's going to put money in your pocket. We trade to make money, right? This is kind of the foundation of it. This is where you start. You start developing this skill. Eventually, you'll be able to make really good judgments on what is likely to happen next. You'll be able to predict the market with an accuracy and have such confidence and take trades behind that confidence. You know, you're not afraid to take trades. You're not afraid of losing because you have developed this skill to read price and make accurate predictions. So that's all I got for this video. Eventually, I'll probably do more about this topic here. And another thing before I go, I just want to tell you, like, I just want to share. You don't see me saying, price is at this level and I'm waiting for XYZ to happen. I'm waiting for a signal to form, and then afterwards I'm going to get a 2-to-1. None, I didn't mention none of that kind of stuff, right? Because these are sort of systematic, fixed rules that have no guarantee of success in the long run. No part of my strategy involves that kind of terminology. My entire strategy is asking these kinds of questions. And one of these videos, I'll go into it kind of more about my strategy, but this is sort of the skeleton of it, right? This is the key to it all, the foundation. My strategy is just a bunch of questions, and the answer to those questions are going to keep you aligned in the market and ultimately give you an edge. So there's no part of my strategy that says we are at this EMA and I'm waiting for price at this EMA and then I want to see a bull bar and then I'm going to get 2-to-1, 3. Forget, throw it out the window, you know. Or maybe not, you know. That's a topic for another day. I don't want to crap on systematic trading. The only issue I have with systematic trading is that I cannot trust whether that system will continue to work in the long run. What I can trust is my ability to read price and make predictions. And that's what's making me money. And it has made me money for years. So I don't need to. Why do I need to change what I'm doing? I'm confident in what I'm doing. But again, it's kind of getting off topic. But we'll end the video there. If you have any questions, reach out to the Discord. Leave comments in the video. Let me know what you guys would like me to talk about. If you guys have any questions about anything, and I will cover that in other videos. That will give me sort of ideas for videos too as well, which will be very helpful for everyone. But I'll always tie it back into these sort of foundational questions or these foundational discretionary approaches, because my approach is completely based on my ability to read the price, and you develop this skill by asking these kinds of questions. Anyways, we'll end it there. I'll see you guys in the next one.